Fentanyl bust in history, making 16 arrests and seizing hundreds of kilos of fentanyl.
Breaking 5,400 FBI and ICE agents raid CJ&E's California network worth $3.8.
The city had barely begun to wake when the silence was shattered by sirens and the thunder of battering rams. Within minutes, the streets of Texas and California turned into a battlefield. Federal agents stormed dozens of buildings at once, kicking in doors, breaking through walls, dragging people out in handcuffs. By 7 a.m., the arrest count had already passed 2,700, and this was only the first strike against the Venezuelan cartel that had been poisoning American cities for years. The biggest operation of the decade, agents called it. Thousands of doses of death, millions in dirty money, stash houses reduced to rubble, and a network stretching far beyond the border. What began as a quiet early morning raid turned into a warning. The war against the cartels is here, and no one will remain untouched. The operation unfolded simultaneously in three key zones: South Texas, Los Angeles, and Central California, regions that for years had served as transit corridors for massive narcotics shipments. One of the most critical trafficking routes runs exactly here, from the Mexican border to California's ports, where toxic cargo spreads across the entire country. Over the course of a single night, special operations teams hit more than 24 warehouses, private homes, and logistics hubs. From these locations, they seized over 3 tons of fentanyl, methamphetamine, and cocaine, a shipment valued at roughly $140 million on the black market. For law enforcement, this became one of the most significant blows in recent years. The network operated across multiple states, disguised itself as import logistics companies, and remained invisible for years until intelligence finally mapped the entire structure into a single picture. What began as a routine analytical check of suspicious cargo at a Texas checkpoint evolved into a months-long investigation that uncovered what local officials preferred not to discuss. A portion of the region's law enforcement had been working for the cartel for years. Among those arrested were not only transporters, logistics coordinators, dealers, and traffickers dispatchers, but also patrol officers, several customs employees, 2 border agents, and even a federal inspector responsible for monitoring cargo flows. These were the individuals who ensured unimpeded passage across the border and provided security guarantees along key stretches of the route. The spark for the operation came from an anonymous report received in the spring. An employee at a logistics company described regular nighttime unloadings of sealed containers labeled as medical reagents or laboratory materials. These labels are commonly used to disguise illegal chemicals or precursors, as shown in other federal cases. After several checks, the information was confirmed, the documents were forged, and the cargo origins were highly questionable. A joint investigative task force was formed. The FBI, DEA, and HSI combined resources, merging field surveillance, wiretaps, financial audits, and tracking of crypto wallets tied to narcotics flows. Investigators pursued at least 5 parallel lines of work, tracking suspicious imports, analyzing customs declarations, covert recording in port zones, personnel vetting, and embedded undercover agents posing as couriers. The investigation revealed a sophisticated scheme. The cartel operated through a network of shell companies registered in Texas, Nevada, and California. On paper, they were involved in international shipping, laboratory equipment imports, or wholesale distribution of dietary supplements. In reality, these businesses served as entry points for dozens of containers labeled as reagents, many of which had been swapped for fentanyl, methamphetamine, or powder bases used to press counterfeit pills. Payments were routed through cryptocurrency, sometimes using privacy-focused coins, other times via small transfers to dozens of wallets that were later consolidated through Chinese or Latin American exchangers. This system made the money flow nearly invisible, but the most significant discovery was the human factor. When analysts began cross-referencing surveillance footage, customs logs, and truck GPS routes, a pattern emerged. Containers passed through the green corridor only during shifts staffed by specific inspectors. Wiretap intercepts added even more evidence. Several police officers supplied traffickers with intel on patrol movements and highway checkpoints, while border agents relayed exact time windows when controls could be bypassed. Undercover agents posing as couriers played a crucial role. They spent weeks negotiating with cartel logisticians, documenting crypto payments, and photographing forged invoices. One such shipment became the trigger for the operation. Once the system confirmed that a container was scheduled to cross the border under the protection of corrupt officials, the task force moved immediately. That moment initiated a coordinated strike. 13 synchronized teams deployed across 3 states, at the border, in port facilities, and in storage zones. During the raids, officers seized more than 3 tons of fentanyl, methamphetamine, and cocaine, worth an estimated $140 million. For many agents, it was the largest and most dangerous operation of their careers, given that they were fighting not only the cartel, but also those who were supposed to stop it. According to investigators, the corruption component is what allowed the network to survive for so long. Shipments moved with minimal inspection, routes were adjusted from the inside, and any anomalies in documents were ignored or corrected by people on government payroll. This wasn't just smuggling, it was an entire infrastructure built from traffickers, legitimate companies, and law enforcement officers who betrayed their oath. The investigation continues, and the task force has already announced upcoming arrests. Federal prosecutors believe this is only the tip of the scheme, and some of the corrupt officials involved don't yet realize they are under scrutiny. The Venezuelan cartels behind the supply network did not operate like street crews. They functioned as full-scale international corporations. Every stage, from production to delivery and money laundering, followed business logistics principles. They had their own chemists overseeing product quality, accountants keeping double books, armed security units, IT specialists managing encrypted communications, and even recruiters who later turned people into forced labor. The narcotics chain began in Southern California, where the cartels maintained several clandestine laboratories. Here, precursors arriving from Mexico and South America were mixed with components imported under the guise of industrial chemicals. Inside specialized rooms equipped with ventilation systems and hydraulic presses, they produced fentanyl, methamphetamine, and cocaine. Some product was packaged immediately, sealed in foil bricks, or pressed into counterfeit pharmaceutical tablets. The rest was shipped to suburban warehouses in Riverside, San Bernardino, and Escondido, where shipments were assembled and prepared for transport to Nevada, Arizona, Texas, and farther east. The cartel's armed units acted as an unofficial private army. Truck convoys were escorted by men carrying assault rifles, and in the red zones of the route, armored pickups with mounted machine guns accompanied the cargo. They didn't just protect shipments, they enforced the supply line, intimidating rival transporters, eliminating witnesses, and at times blackmailing local politicians and law enforcement. Forced labor and human trafficking were fully integrated into the system. Cartels used migrants from Venezuela, Guatemala, and Honduras as cheap labor. Some were held in hidden dormitories near laboratories and warehouses, stripped of documents, and forced to work under threats of violence. Women were often sold into other branches of the network, brothels, massage parlors, or extortion operations. This labor model allowed the cartel to spend virtually nothing on personnel and minimize the risk of information leaks. The financial and economic infrastructure ran with the precision of a Swiss watch. Most profits were funneled through multi-layered cryptocurrency routes. Cartels accepted payments in Bitcoin, Monero, and Ethereum, splitting transactions into hundreds of micropayments. After consolidation, funds were transferred through laundering wallets and exchangers in Panama, Venezuela, and the Dominican Republic. Part of the money was legalized through shell companies allegedly dealing in medical imports, agricultural machinery, or construction materials. Through these companies, the cartel purchased chemicals, equipment, vehicles, and high-tech components that were then illegally smuggled into South America. Tech smuggling was one of the most dangerous aspects of the cartel's operations. Alongside narcotics, couriers transported microchips, industrial sensors, night vision and thermal devices, communications gear, and even components with military applications. Some of this equipment ended up in the hands of Venezuelan paramilitary formations or was resold to other groups across Latin America. This not only generated profit, but also provided political protection, making the cartel a useful tool for actors seeking to weaken U.S. influence in the region. The cartel's logistics model mirrored that of a multinational corporation. Suppliers, precursors arrived from Mexico, Colombia, and through offshore routes from China. Chemists and production, Southern California labs turned them into finished product. Warehousing, Suburban hubs stored, labeled, and divided shipments by route. Distribution. Through drivers, private companies, and bribed inspectors, cargo was moved into Texas, Arizona, Utah, and onward to the East Coast. Profit revenue cycled back to Latin American centers through clean import-export operations and cryptocurrency channels. The danger posed by this network was enormous. The fentanyl produced in these labs was pure enough that a single shipment could generate millions of lethal doses. The flow was so large it could overwhelm the healthcare systems of multiple states at once. And with their own armed units and corrupt connections inside the United States, the cartel was resilient to any isolated enforcement action. The money the cartels earned from fentanyl and cocaine flowed through an entire network of clean businesses: restaurants, car dealerships, transport companies, and small service firms. A portion of the profits was converted into cryptocurrency and pushed through exchanges with weak verification. After several laundering cycles, the funds returned to the United States as investments into legitimate enterprises, construction contracts, and in some cases, even into local political campaigns. It was this financial trail that helped analysts understand they were not dealing with a street gang, but with a sprawling system. Preparation for the operation lasted several weeks. Coordination between the FBI, DEA, HSI, and local police required absolute secrecy, as some of the suspects could have included corrupt officials. Teams were assembled separately. Information was shared in isolated layers, and only the commanders of the assault groups had access to the final target lists. Analysts created a detailed strike map: laboratories, warehouses, escape routes, apartments where undocumented workers were kept, and locations where armed cartel guards were likely stationed. The decision to act today was made after intelligence detected the movement of a new large shipment of precursors and cash. Information surfaced that several key figures were preparing to flee to Mexico, and one of the laboratories was preparing for a hot destruction of evidence. Hesitation would have meant losing months of work. That is why by 4 a.m., the teams were already in their staging positions, fully aware today the network would either fall or disappear. The transportation of narcotics was expertly disguised. Produce trucks, containers filled with construction materials, livestock feed trailers, all served as cover. Some shipments moved together with undocumented migrants who were forced to carry drug bricks hidden in double-walled compartments of vehicles. With the help of corrupt agents on the Texas border, these loads passed through without inspection. The Green Corridor had existed for years. During the operation, agents seized more than 3 tons of fentanyl, cocaine, and methamphetamine, enough to produce tens of millions of lethal doses. Inside the underground laboratories, investigators found barrels of precursors, industrial mixers, vacuum presses, and tablet molding dies. Weapons recovered included automatic rifles, shotguns, pistols, optical sights, and several improvised explosive devices. Stashes contained body armor, helmets, and ammunition packed for the cartel's field groups. Financial evidence revealed the scale of the empire: over $4.7 million in cash, crypto wallets holding Ethereum and Monero, metal safes filled with gold bars and luxury watches. Agents recovered hundreds of fake passports, driver's licenses, and ID badges from logistics companies. In the technical rooms, investigators found servers, radios, encrypted tablets, laptops with tampered modems, and software for covert communication. More than 24 trafficked individuals were rescued from cramped rooms where they were held without documents and forced to work as laborers, couriers, and packers. Among the arrested were route coordinators, drivers, warehouse overseers, and several intermediaries responsible for contacts with corrupt officials. For investigators, the biggest surprise was that the financial architecture of the scheme proved even more dangerous than the narcotics trafficking itself. The same crypto wallets used to pay for weapons, transport, and lab precursors were also used to fund election committees, support friendly officials, and buy stakes in local businesses. This created a shadow economy capable of influencing government decisions and the security of entire counties. Agents note that the network survived for so long due to 3 factors. First, a vast system of shell companies that appeared legitimate. Second, corrupt officials who ensured the seamless movement of shipments. Third, a complex crypto infrastructure that concealed profits. Only the combined analysis of financial flows, wiretap intercepts, and customs logs allowed investigators to piece together the full picture. "We didn't just stop the supply, we cut the spine of the network," a DEA representative stated. The FBI added, "Operations like this happen once a decade." The scale of financial corruption was no smaller than the scale of drug trafficking. Compared to previous strikes on cartel networks, this operation was far more comprehensive. It simultaneously hit the production chain, logistics hubs, corrupt connections, and financial channels. Agents emphasized that it was this combination that made the network nearly untouchable, and this is why its dismantling is considered a strategic victory. Today, Venezuelan cartels have officially been designated as foreign terrorist organizations, the first time in history such groups have received this status. "We dismantled their network, but the war isn't over," federal agents said. The new designation opens the door to global operations and sends a clear message. From now on, these cartels will be pursued as enemies of the state, not as criminal enterprises.